It's like you don't even know our show.
No, I don't know that shit. What was that crap?
That was
We
Gerald.
We gotta win, baby!
The same thing we did last night. Can we play it again? Because he ruined it.
I think we should start all over.
Yeah, let's just start all over.
Start
it
all
all
over. And then,
over.
Espo, you can do it right after that.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's
Ready.
go.
Win, 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 win. Curve everything else. Win, 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 win.
How you doing now, Memphis? You feeling good in the West? We back, baby!
There we go. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the PHNX Suns postgame show brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Lindsay Smith here with Saul Bookman and Espo. Gerald Bourget will be joining us shortly from the Footprint Center. And that's 3 in a row. The
Not
Phoenix
one,
Suns.
not 2,
but
not 3. We're going to hit 4, maybe 5, then we 6.
But right now we're at 3 with a win
Go.
over the Memphis Grizzlies, 112 to 110. How y'all feeling tonight?
Fantastic. That was a great game. Well, except for the fourth quarter meltdown. But
I mean, they did enough to win, and that's all that matters. And they
go.
beat the #2 team in the West. So let's do this.
I thought this was a solid game up until the fourth quarter, but even though they allowed Memphis to get back into it, I'm still proud of the way that they fought through it because they could have just given up. They could have just let themselves get down on themselves for allowing Memphis to get back into a game that at one point the Suns were leading by 29 points, but they kept fighting. They figured it out. And it's a learning lesson. Like these last couple games, you've had to learn. You had to take your lumps and learn. And that's what they did again here tonight.
just like they have done since Devin Booker's been gone, they are trying to hold on for dear life until he comes back. And tonight was kind of a microcosm of that. They held on for dear life in the fourth quarter, but they were able to hold on, and that's all that matters. They got the W. We had some good performances. I thought some guys really stood out, and we'll get to those guys. But I thought overall it was good performance. Hey, they won. And I don't think none of us picked them to win in the pregame. So, hey, kudos to the Suns for keeping it rolling.
Well, technically, it's a clutch win because it was within
in
five
in the
final 5 minutes,
choking,
and they won.
Whatever.
Hey, but no, it would have been really easy for them to fold, and you could have said, well, this, that, the guys fouled out, blah, 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 excuse. But they didn't. They found the way to win there at the end. They did enough to get over the hump, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, hey, listen, I don't know how Ja feels about the Suns. I'm telling you, you might need to be a little bit worried about the West and the Suns.
Maybe
there,
just
Ja.
a smidge. Maybe
We'll see
just
you
a
in the playoffs.
smidge. I don't know. We shall see. Before we look inside the box and talk about this game more, we do have a few super chats. Thank you, Colin, for your super chat. Said, great game and bring back funky sax music, please. Who's with me? Saul. You switched up the music on us this year, so it's up to you.
I can bring it back.
Bring back the funky sax?
I can bring it back, but I think
Bring
it's
it
gone.
back.
Bring it back.
Because somebody deleted it.
We can
You better find
re-download it.
You got to find it.
So, okay, give me like 2 minutes, and I might be able to get it back.
What? All right.
We'll see what we can do, Colin. We'll see. And then we have one from Ghost Balls as well. Thank you for your super chat as well. Said, I want to see Saul and Espo hug so bad. Please hug.
No, dude. No. That's not happening, dude. I will stiff arm you the whole time. That's not. No, listen. No. We don't hug after 3-game win streaks. I'm sorry. That's
4, then it's on.
Nah. You get 10 in a row, or Landry Shamet hits 35, then maybe
you got to buy me dinner.
No.
Listen, can I just say, I'm just going to, before we go too far off the rails here from the start of the show, I don't ever want to hear you give me shit ever again about not hugging you back when you won't hug Espo. Until you hug Espo freely and warmly, you can kiss a hug goodbye.
First of all, you
sir.
can let me tell you something about me, dog.
Let me tell you something about me, dog.
How many times have we probably hugged?
Let me say this.
Wait. How many times have we probably hugged?
5, maybe.
How many times have we probably hugged, Lindsay?
None.
Hey, so there you go. I don't owe you shit.
You've
I
known
hugged my man
Espo.
5 times.
You've known Espo longer than we've known each other on this level. So
I've
it makes
hugged him
sense.
5 times longer
So
than
it
we
makes
have.
sense.
There you
I'm
go.
Let me just say this.
I'm just
Saul
saying.
acts like this big tough guy, Mr. Macho. He's got a soft side. He won't tell you people that. He won't show you people that. But he's a sensitive soul, and I appreciate that about him.
That's fact. All right, let's get back into this game. Suns win. Let's start things off by looking inside the box. Espo?
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
A win! That's what's in the box! 112-110 over the Grizzlies. And you know what? It came down to two things for me. Free throw shooting. The Suns were 21 of 25 tonight from the charity stripe. The Grizz, 19 of 27. And when you get a 2-point win, it's little things like that that make the difference. And then you look at the turnovers. The Grizz had 19. Suns only had 16. So those little things, two little things, make a world of difference when this comes down to a 2-point game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it hadn't come down to the wire, this box would look a lot nicer for the Phoenix Suns, that's for sure. Like we had said, 29-point lead at one point in time. I don't think the Grizzlies ever led in this entire game, did they?
Not for 1 second in this game.
Not for 1 second.
They got damn close.
You know,
yeah, they did.
I
They
will
did.
say, from a free throw perspective, 84% tonight. I'm not mad at that, although I would have liked it to be a little bit closer to 100% from the Suns team. We already talked about how little they do get to the line. 25 isn't terrible, but when you're getting to the line, now we need to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did. I mean, listen, that's a high percentage from the free throw
I
line.
want it at 90. I want a 90.
I mean, that's just greedy.
It is. I'm being
That's
really
just
greedy right
greedy.
now. I want
don't know what to
90.
say.
Well, you know, it's not. The crazy thing is,
84%.
but the guy who missed one of the four is shooting 90% from the free throw line this year.
It's not.
And,
It's not.
and Damian
I
Lee.
want 90.
So that one free throw probably is the difference there and getting it that much closer to that 90%. So,
But also, like, okay, we won by 2.
Mm-hmm.
That also includes a crazy full court shot by the Grizzlies.
that's
That's
very.
fair.
I
true.
mean, so we could complain about the free throws, but you know, the percentages of that shot going are less than 1%.
I mean, that was
To be fair, I'm not
85,
complaining. I'm just
88%.
being greedy.
Oh, I know. Oh, I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly know.
But look, you missed 2 of those. They go to overtime. I mean, it's that like I know it seems like dumb, simple math, but I mean the fact that they shot 84% and the Grizzlies only shot 70% on free throws is a big deal here.
All right, so there's a couple players that we absolutely have to talk about in tonight's game. Of course, Chris Paul came back. We saw some good plays from Mikal Bridges. Cam Johnson's back in action as well. But I want to start with the big men. Jock Landale, Bismack Biyombo. In Deandre Ayton's absence, we got to see those two guys over the last 2 games step up and do pretty big things. We've had solid games from both of them in back-to-back games now. I'm really happy with the performance from Bismack and Jock. And Monty talked about it pregame, like one of the hardest things that this group has gone through with all of these injuries is just having to learn how to adapt.
Mhm.
And Jock has even said it, before, that not knowing how many minutes you're going to get each night, not knowing what your rotations are going to look like, starting, not starting, all these type of things, it's hard to find a rhythm. And despite all of the injuries, still, these two guys have been able to figure it out, especially in these last 2 games, and it's been fun to watch them perform.
Without Jock Landale, they do not win tonight. Jock came up big, had a 3-pointer, which is something we haven't seen him do a lot of this year, but went 1 for 2 from deep, had those 12 points, 5 rebounds, assist, a steal. He went out there and filled the stat sheet when he was there. I would have liked a little bit more on a couple of those hook shots, but he went in there. He was banging down low. I loved what I saw. Landale Landing Property is selling out quickly. Send your inquiries to @Espo, and I'll forward them to Jock for
I
you.
think we were all curious about what tonight was going to look like with Cam Johnson and Chris Paul back in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about the rest of the crew is it really does look like they're starting to get their footing.
Yeah.
Starting to get some chemistry. They're starting to feel more comfortable out there on the court. It took about 15 to 20 games for that to happen, but you know what? If you're looking at this team and who they are, and if Monty can do a good enough job of fitting pieces that did exist back into existence when they come available, like Booker, man, this team all of a sudden goes from a team that you were worried about making the playoffs to a team that, I mean, on paper and what we're seeing with the eye test, could easily get back to the finals, like, or at least the Western Conference finals. Like that, they're playing very well. So props to those guys for just listen. Monty talks about sticking with the program, just not getting too high or too low. It's easy to say that when you're very, very high. You're like, hey, don't get too high. But when you're very, very low, sometimes it's hard to pull yourself up. And kudos to this team for sticking with it, and it's now starting to pay dividends.
But it's not the same guys. That's the funny thing. Last night, Josh Okogie was big, Damian Lee. Tonight they combined for 6 points. Tonight it was Torrey Craig coming up big. It was Dario Saric, who came out of nowhere in that second half and was huge to do things. Like it was other guys on that bench that tonight stepped up, where last night those guys weren't factors. Yeah. That's what's encouraging to me too, is it's not just one or two of these guys doing it night in, night out. It's a group effort, which becomes big, because a lot of times you see that in the playoffs where it's one bench guy has one game, one big game off the bench, and then somebody else does it. Like they have a lot of opportunity here to have guys contribute down the stretch.
And I will say, like, I know I highlighted Biz and Jock at first, but Dario also deserves his flowers in that mix as well. Because like you said, 14 points tonight, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, because I didn't realize how much foul trouble Biz was in until he came back into the game when Jock fouled out.
Yeah, and it took him
for whatever reason. That one just completely missed my radar, and Dario had to come in and step in and carry a lot of the load, and he was able to hold his own as well. So it was good to see all around. I didn't want to leave Dario off of the flowers list tonight.
The homie is back to contributing.
Yeah,
like he had a play, which it amazes me. This guy, we joke about how unathletic he is, yet he went coast to coast on a play, and it wasn't that he was faster than anybody. It wasn't that he was more athletic. He was just determined, and he got coast to coast and made the bucket, and it was pretty. I mean, for a guy that, we all thought, oh, Jaw's gonna dunk on somebody or whatever. That's what you're looking for. And then one of the prettier plays to me was Dario going coast to coast, and there was nothing in particular, special in terms of athleticism or anything.
Yeah. A few more flowers to give out, but first I did want to throw a little bit of shade at my boy Bismack Biyombo, because he did not help me win my bet tonight, even though I feel like something happened that I must have missed, because even Jose in the chat said Lindsay won that bet in the first quarter. That was some defense by Busy. And it was.
So they took a block off, and after thinking about it, and they did show the replay.
Yeah.
And when they showed the replay, it looked like, I think it was Dylan Brooks, when he shot it, it hit the side of the backboard, then Busy hit it. And if that's the case, then it's more of a rebound than it is a block, because it already touched the backboard. So I think that's why they took the block away, because it did show too.
It did.
And then it took it away.
That's not why. I texted my friends in New York and said, this is some bullshit. Take that away. Lindsay can't win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, it was really disappointing. And it was fun to watch Busy in that first quarter. He was putting in work. But unfortunately, he finished with only 1 block tonight, which means I lost my bet. But don't worry, everybody, because Saul and Espo also lost their bet on the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Damn it.
Not a single one of us was successful tonight, except for the Phoenix Suns, who got the W. And really, at the end of the day, that is all that matters. But what does our DraftKings bets leaderboard look like now, Emma? We're still in the green, but it's not as pretty as it was at the start of this game. Saul's 1950, I'm 85.62, and Espo is 37. But we'll be back on Tuesday. We're going to have another fun competition here. Make sure you guys join us for the pregame show for that one. And if you guys want to get in on the action on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, there are 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in free bets instantly. So if you have not, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Make sure you use that code PHNX. And again, new customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Shall we name our draft king of the game?
Sure, why not?
Do you guys think this one was a tough one, or do you think this one was an easier one?
It was only made tough because of the second half.
Okay.
And trying to figure out who was really stepping up and doing what. But I mean, listen, anytime somebody puts on a performance that is unexpected and gives us a glimpse of what used to be, hey, we're gonna give him the king of the game.
We're gonna give him the king of the game right now.
You know what it is.
The crown goes to Chris Paul. He finished with 22 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds. Oh, and by the way, 3 steals and a block in there in his first game back from injury. He had missed 6 games before this, and he came back, and it seemed like he was invigorated. He had lots of energy.
Did he spend 2 weeks in a hyperbolic chamber? Like, what did this man do that all of a sudden he looked like vintage CP3?
I don't know. I had tweeted out that I was like, oh shit, are we all about to be wrong about Chris Paul in the first half? Because he was lighting it up, and everybody was like, oh, not all. Like, okay, well, some people swear that they were on the Chris Paul train no matter what. And I think this is a good example of what we're talking about, right? 17, 6 and 6 in the first half. 5 and 5 in the second half. So not as dominant scoring wise, but still as effective passing the rock. And his presence means a lot out there too. And I think sometimes even myself, I overlook what his presence means out there on the court. Just the threat of Chris Paul out there, it can mean a lot. And so I was very happy to see vintage Chris Paul. It's always great when you see vintage Chris Paul, the between the legs passes. He's looking at some of the passes around, guys. They're just Chris Paul passes. Nobody else can do them. It's phenomenal. So, I hope we get to see more of it because it's fun to watch.
He had a no look between his legs pass. We have not seen this stuff this year from Chris Paul. It was like he is risen. He was rejuvenated. The point guard was there tonight, and I think you're right. Down the stretch, having him out there. Imagine if this fourth quarter happens and you're relying on Dwayne Washington Jr. and Saban Lee to be your primary ball handlers during that time. I mean, that's when they crap their pants. Like, this is the stuff that CP3 has been through and knows how to handle those situations. And yeah, it got closer than anybody would like, but like you used to say last year, when you got CP3, you got Devin Booker, you're in good hands. Well, CP3 again was out there to help kind of calm the sea. It was okay. Yeah, this is happening, but we're not going to let it happen all the way.
Yeah.
I know that it was much more of a exciting performance from Chris Paul in the first half than it was in the second half. And Brittany in the chat said he told the postgame show with a laugh that he was gassed at the end. And she said, understandably so, but he was great. But in the first half, came out of the gates just with all the energy in the entire world. He had 17.6 rebounds and 6 assists in the first half alone. And then, of course, he bumped that up in the second half. But Espo, to your point, I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit calmer of an ending. Like, I was surprised that it got as close as it did. Because in my head, when it started to get a little bit closer, I think they got it within 9. I was like, all right, we need Chris Paul to kind of do some Chris Paul things here. Like you said, one of the vintage performances. Let's step back into who we saw, especially in the first half of this game. So I was kind of a little bit, I wouldn't say disappointed, but I was just a little bit surprised.
But this is what teams are starting to do with Chris Paul, because they don't feel like, I feel like a lot of teams would rather Chris Paul shoot the 3 than shoot the midi, because he's such an automatic scorer from the mid-range. So teams, you'll see, will help and leave him alone on the perimeter. And he had multiple wide open shots from 3 and couldn't connect in the second half. And you're going to see that more and more as we go along. Now, as we go along, he's going to get better and better, obviously. His stamina is going to be better and better. So I'm not going to really sit here and be like, oh my gosh, this is the kryptonite. I don't believe that for a second. But what I will say is we did see this even before he was injured. Teams saying, you know what, prove it from the perimeter. He hasn't been great. I believe he's shooting either a career low or second lowest career total percentage-wise from 3. So he's going to have to prove that, especially once they get to the playoffs. He's going to have to hit those threes. In the first half, he did it, and the Suns were off and running.
Yeah.
Second half, not so much, and they came back to the mean.
Well, look, for me, this is the Memphis Grizzlies. They're one of the best teams in the
Yes.
West.
That's true.
The fact that they came back is not surprising to me. The fact that the Suns went up 29 was the surprising part to me. But the fact that Memphis had a push late, and you look at the first half, and I think John Dillon Brooks combined for 14 points in that first half. Like, you knew that wasn't going to continue. So it didn't shock me. But what I was happy with is the Suns just found a way. This is a very easy game to blow down there in the last few minutes. A couple things don't go their way. They miss a couple free throws when they wound up at the line. This is a different story, but they did just enough. And in the end, that's all that really matters. They split the season series with Memphis 2 games apiece, and at the end, that's impressive when Memphis is one of the better teams in this league, and in particular in the conference. So, look, a win's a win. I'm not gonna split hairs over what they did.
I mean, the Suns just beat Ja and company without Devin Booker and without DeAndre Ayton and without Jay Crowder, and whoever that's going to turn out to be. I'm telling you, like, the Suns, all of a sudden, you're starting to feel much, much better about the team. You're starting to feel much, much better with their opportunity in the West. I'm telling you, James Jones, bro, if you don't want to see this fan base lose their shit, you better make a move. You better make a move.
Would you like some breaking news? Breaking news. The Warriors lost to the Nets, which means the Suns are in 7th place all by themselves, a half a game behind the Clippers for 6th, and a game back of the Dallas Mavericks, who they play on Thursday, for 5th. They're right back in the mix of this stuff. Three-game win streak puts them right back where they want to be, a half a game out of not being in the play-in.
And who else are we playing this week? I should know this.
It's Charlotte and then Dallas on Thursday. So Charlotte Tuesday, Dallas Thursday on TNT.
And then San Antonio on Saturday.
Yeah, and then the Raptors are the following game. So you could win 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, like you said off the top of the show, this could be a 4, 5, 6 game win streak if the Suns play their cards right. At the very least, a 4-game win streak. Dallas could be a tough battle, but you should be able to beat the Spurs. So
Agreed.
Quite a few winnable games in the very near future.
Well, and if you beat Dallas, who you're now only a game behind, I mean, you could go all the way up to 5th, and then you're looking at New Orleans and Sacramento as the 3-4, and those are 2 teams that haven't been through the tough second half of a season while you're jockeying for playoff position. So. Look, you're right. You're sitting right in it right now. You're right in the middle of it, and you haven't even gotten Devin Booker back. You've only had Chris Paul back for a game and Cam Johnson back for 2. This is the best case scenario, I think. We said, they need to stay 500 and stay,
above water.
Above water. Well, they're at 500 overall. They didn't do that in the stretch without D-Book, but this is one of the better case scenarios you could have hoped for, with hopefully Devin Booker coming back in the near future. We're supposed to get news on that this week. All of a sudden, things start to look a lot brighter. You make some kind of trade, whether it's a smaller one or you go in bigger, because Matt Ishbia is calling the shots now, and it feels a lot better than where we were a week and a half ago. I think you can start dreaming a little bit bigger than I hope they get into the play-in tournament.
Hey, can I address something real quick about DeAndre Ayton?
The super chat?
Well, I didn't see that one, but
no,
there's
go
some
ahead. You're good.
other comments, right? So I looked at, across Twitter, some people were posting like, when DeAndre Ayton doesn't play, it's good for the Suns, or, some people were even celebrating the fact that he was sick. But let me say this. I got to remind everybody, like, DeAndre Ayton has a no trade clause. Like, he has the option to be traded depending on what the deal is. Like, this thought that DeAndre Ayton can be traded for something of significant value is kind of a pipe dream, because I guarantee you're going to have to pull from a team that's not contending. Do you think DeAndre Ayton wants to go to, whatever, the Orlando Magic, You know what I mean? Like,
No, but Toronto
maybe, but again, when you break down the numbers and and all the other factors that go into it, like he's lived in warm weather cities his whole life. Does he really want to go to Toronto and try that? Like, I don't know if he really does. And again, do you want to find yourself on the way out of the playoffs or on the way in? And that also matters too, unless you want to control your own destiny. And this is the only way he can control his own destiny is by rejecting or accepting a trade, because after this season, the Suns can trade him for no matter what to anywhere.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you're asking the what ifs. Do you really want to do you want to do this? Well, what if a team wants to build around you as the guy?
Well,
that could be very intriguing to a guy like DA. What if the promise of we're going to play the way you want to play? We're going to make you a power forward.
I get it. But however, like, there's so much tape on Deandre Ayton. I really find it hard to believe that there's a team out there that says, we want you to be our focal point. Like, everything is centered around you.
But Toronto, big city.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Barnes is there. He's not going to be any part of a deal, so you have a running mate. I think that could be an appealing option, because I get the weather, but in the end, getting paid and getting to feel like you're the man is going to matter just as much, because you're traveling to cold weather cities anyways during the season. So, that may be, out of anybody, I think that may be one of the more intriguing spots for him. And he signed with Indy. Indy's cold too.
True.
And not even just being like the man, right? Even if it's like, hey, we just know that we can elevate your game with the system we have here, even if he's not the go-to guy. We talk about it with draft picks all the time. How many GMs and coaches say, look at that guy who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing with whatever team they're on, and says, I know I can turn that guy into a star.
I hear you. And if he had gone to Indiana, there's not, I know they got Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin and stuff like that, but there's not really that guy that you feel like you can't overcome. When he got here to Phoenix, there was no way he was going to overcome Devin Booker. You know what I mean? So if he goes to Toronto, would he be satisfied with knowing that Scotty Barnes gets all the love out there? Like, can he overcome that? Like, I don't think DA wants to be second fiddle at the next stop, wherever that may be.
Well, then he's going to have to go to a bad team, and your whole worrying about the playoffs won't matter there. But if your career's hurting like it is for Deandre Ayton a bit, wouldn't you want a Nick Nurse to take care of you? I mean, come on.
Nick Nurse might not be there after this year anyway. So.
We do have a couple super chats, but before we get into those super chats, I think, we got down the DA conversation, but the Suns won, and I think it's worth celebrating. And if you are celebrating at home, might I recommend some Four Peaks if you happen to have some in the fridge. If you don't have some in the fridge, you should absolutely pick some up and make sure you are well stocked, because like we said, a lot of winnable games ahead of us this upcoming week. You can pick them up at the Four Peaks Brewery in Tempe on Wednesday when we're all going to be there. All of our live shows will be happening throughout the day at the Four Peaks 8th Street Pub on January 25th. So come hang out with us. We'll be there in person. We'll be having great beer, good food, and a good time. And this is your invitation to stop in whenever you're able. There's also going to be $3 beer specials. So come say hi to us. Also, Four Peaks has 2 new beers right now, the Recreational Juice Dank IPA and Staycation Super Juicy IPA. So just a reminder, though, you do have to be 21 years or older, and we ask that you enjoy responsibly when drinking Four Peaks beer. Secondly, if you're watching these games from home and you're not at the arena where the seats are, you don't get to have any say in what the seats are like.
Yeah,
when
some
you're
people
at home,
put bungee cords. Like, it's just not fun.
When you're at home, you do get to have a say in the chairs and the couches and the recliners that you watch Suns basketball in. And if you need an upgrade, let me tell you about my friend over at More Furniture. They hooked us up here at the PHNX offices, and they can help hook you guys up as well. They have some of the best furniture you are going to find in the Valley, and you can save big at More Furniture as well. Just head to morefurniture.com to check them out. Okay, super chat time. Y'all ready?
Yeah, right there.
Psycho Blue.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Go ahead.
Well, there's this cool thing that we have in the office. It's really dope. It's a new cornhole board.
Mm-hmm.
It's so awesome. The holes actually have LEDs that light up within the holes, so you can play in the dark, you can play outside. And then on the back side, there's literal cup holders inside these cornhole bowls that are underneath the cornhole bowl, so that way that nothing gets into your drink. They have a scorekeeping little what do you call it, abacus. Which is dope. This is so awesome, and they're made by Chi-Town cornhole boards. I gotta say that's a long name. And they'll ship anywhere. We got a phenomenal deal here, and you can too by reaching out to them. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Chi-Town Custom. Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards, or check out their website at chitowncornhole.com.
That might be the longest Instagram.
It is a pretty long one. It is also veteran owned, and veterans get 10% off.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
pretty
cool.
sweet. Matter of fact, we'll actually take a picture. I don't know why we don't have a picture of this. I don't know why we don't have some way. That's okay. We'll do it next time, but we'll show you to it. Show you this.
Yeah. We'll
next time.
Easy for you to say.
It's hard.
All right, it's super chat time. We got a couple comments from the chat that we want to discuss. First and foremost, we got one from Psycho Blue. Saul, this is where you shine. Let's see what you got today.
Cthulhu says, groggily, young Phoenix spawn nearly crumbled. Shannon the Sharp may have engaged in bribery.
Thank you, Psycho Blue, for your super chat. We appreciate it.
I think we need a basketball Cthulhu for somewhere on
We
the
probably
set.
do.
We
probably
probably
create
do.
one.
I think we need to.
Put one back there. James Johnson, thank you for your super chat. We appreciate you. Said, Saul, is it time to release DA real fact findings? Suns defense rotations look solid lately.
Very soon.
So what James is asking about, in case you weren't here with us last night, Saul is doing kind of a deep dive into DA and kind of looking at some of the intricacies around the conversation that's happening on Suns Twitter of how many games have we won versus lost when DA plays, when he's not playing, and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of going down the rabbit hole a little bit and looking at more of the nuances.
Just taking everything into consideration from the time he got here to the right now, without factoring in one Mr. Luka Doncic, because when you factor him into this whole thing, it makes DA look far worse than I actually think he is. But the numbers are really, man, they are really telling, and I'm not gonna burst the bubble, but and I'm not trying to make this a big old deal or anything
Saul
like
has
that,
acquired the top secret files. He found the Corvette they were next to.
Unfortunately, I have not found the codes to unlock DA. So
yet,
but we'll see.
Maybe Wednesday or Friday.
Yeah, I think Wednesday.
Maybe
is probably
Wednesday
the
or
target
Friday
for
we'll
that,
have some more info on that.
I think it's up, down, A, B, A, B.
Yeah.
At the end of the
We need the cheat code.
Select and start at the same time.
Yes, there we go.
And then Carl, thank you for your super chat. They said, thanks for beating Memphis from your DNVR frenemy. Hi, Carl. Happy to
Hi.
have you here. You're welcome.
Hey,
Carl.
being first in the West isn't all it's cracked up to be. Take our word for it.
Well, we got to let them have their moment.
Yeah.
while
You
they
enjoy
can.
it.
You have
Say
your
it.
moment while you
gonna-
can,
We're not going
Carl.
to poo-poo on your platter.
No.
I'm not.
Just
I'm just saying sometimes it can be rough.
All right, a few more flowers that we need to hand out this evening. Mikal Bridges, now his 5th straight game with 20 or more points under his belt. He finished tonight with 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. I really like what we're seeing from Mikal Bridges as of late. This has been so fun to watch. I think this is a lot of the growth that we had all been asking for from him.
Yeah.
You know, I loved his game tonight. Again, I just love the fact that he's being aggressive, he's being assertive, he knows his spots, and he's very comfortable getting to there. The only thing if there was a critique tonight, I would have liked to see him take a little bit more assertiveness in the fourth quarter, scoring wise, or at least taking shots. I think he was kind of MIA from possession to possession, but overall, fantastic performance again by him. And listen, we've been begging for consistency from Mikal and DA. Mikal is giving it to us right now. 5 straight games of 20 plus points. Like, the effort is there. It looks like whatever was ailing him a little bit ago, we were even questioning whether or not he should sit out a game or two and just break the streak. It looks like he's recovered from that, whatever it was, and he's back to being his old Mikal. He looks confident. He looks assertive. I really like what I'm seeing from Mikal right now.
Yeah, shot at 40% from beyond the arc again tonight. That's huge. Had the second most free throw attempts on the team behind Dario Saric. Hit all of those. And had 4 assists, 5 rebounds. I was concerned he'd take a little bit of a step back with CP3 coming back and dominating the ball a little bit more, because he had been very, handling the ball a lot on offense. But overall, really good game from Mikal, and hopefully these 5 games are that point that we look back and we go, that's when Mikal really unlocked what he is for this team.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that Chris Paul missing a good amount of time this year has actually been really beneficial for Mikal in the sense of finding more confidence that he doesn't have to defer to Chris Paul all the time when Chris Paul does play with him?
Well, we thought it would be good. And for a little while there, it wasn't looking good at all.
Well,
you know what I mean?
now.
But now, yes. And again, there's a growth period when the dynamics shift on a team. And usually, you know, you're talking about offseason moves.
Yeah.
You got training camp to kind of work through some of those things. Well, obviously the Suns did not have that when they lost Devin Booker and CP3 from spurts and campaign and all these other moving parts. And Mikal's been the one consistent one. And I can imagine it's a little difficult having a different starting 5 every single time you step on the court. And so I think sometimes even, you know, I sometimes it's hard for me to see the forest through the trees because all I see is game to game, you need to step up, you need to step up, you need to step up, and not realizing that there is a little bit of an adaptation process that has to take place. And Mikal's going through that, and it looks like he's starting to come out of that and really feel good because what's happening is now instead of worrying about the team and gelling as a team, he knows he needs to control the things that he can control, and he's been doing that at a higher level more consistently, and that's what the Suns need.
I'll tell you in a week. I don't know if he has grown to the point.
You getting choked up?
No, I was about to yawn. I had 4 hours of sleep.
It's like,
I can't believe the Mikal. No, what?
Growing right before our
but
own eyes.
I'll tell you in a week or so because I don't know that Mikal grew to where he's going to look off CP3 yet because I haven't seen him play with CP3 enough since this stretch started. So I don't know how that dynamic's going to play, but I can say he's become a much more confident ball handler and distributor, which can only help the Suns come playoff time because last year when they shut down Chris Paul or they double teamed Devin Booker, there was no other option that could effectively distribute the basketball and dribble the ball up with true confidence, which that's part of what Monty was trying to accomplish this year by playing Chris Paul more off the ball was to give Mikal that kind of confidence, and we're finally seeing it come through. So that's my big hope is that continues with CP3.
You try to take things that you've seen in the past and relate them to what you're seeing now, and I think to a large degree, you know, if you go back to those Bulls teams in the early 90s, you know, obviously Michael Jordan was that dude, but he was getting beat up by the Pistons all the time. And he desperately needed a consistent number 2 that could help him out scoring wise. And Scottie Pippen started to evolve into that guy. And it took a little while, but he finally got there. And once he got there, then the rest of the cast got significantly better because now the defense had to focus on 2 guys instead of just 1, and everybody elevated their play. If this is the beginning of what we're seeing, that means Devin Booker is AKA our Michael Jordan, right? And then Mikal, if DA is not going to step up, Mikal can act as that Scottie Pippen-esque guy, which is ironically a comparison that he had when he was coming out of college. And you can see those 2 working together to elevate everybody else. CP3 right now, if you're looking at him and his contributions, you have to start thinking him as a nice accessory and not a reliable part so much because of the injury, because of the age, because of the inconsistency right now. And hopefully he'll work through that as well and understand what his limits are, because there are limits now. They're coming to reality. But he's going to maneuver around that. And if Mikal can step up, man, this team is going to go to a whole nother level, and they might be the best in the West by the end of the season.
But I think the best thing to happen to this team is CP3 realizing that he can't be that guy.
I hope he is.
I imagine he is, because I mean, with as many injuries he's gone through this year, the fact that he looked as slow at times as he has, and he's been able to watch guys like Mikal start to come into their own, I think he'll feel more comfortable with doing it. In the past, I don't know that the comfort level was there for him to try to step back at all, because it was him and it was Booker, and then it was a bunch of young guys you were hoping would evolve into something.
Well, go ahead. I have a little nugget for you about that very topic that we can ask Gerald more about when he gets here. But Gerald did say that in post-game pressers, Chris Paul made a point to mention how comfortable Mikal Bridges looks handling the ball and making plays lately. He also said he loves seeing that and plays like when Cam Johnson grabbed a rebound and waved him off, because he's been waiting for them to do that kind of thing for a while.
Yeah.
So it feels like, from Chris Paul's own words, that he is comfortable in a new role. He's comfortable with those guys taking a little bit more of the lead in some of these situations.
I would say if I was Book, this has been a great time for him to sit and kind of evaluate everybody without him. And honestly, at this point, and I'm not just saying this because of recency bias, but because of the ball handling aspect of this, because of the way that Mikal can maneuver without having to be fed, right? Like DA. If I was Devin Booker, I would be looking more towards Mikal and building him up and making sure that he's ready for the playoffs scoring wise to help me out than I would DA, because DA in this regard would be like, he's also an accessory, like because of the inconsistency, and you don't know. Now he could be one of the best accessories of all time if he could just, drop 25 and 15 on any given night, but he is still an accessory. Mikal and Book can control the narrative themselves because of their skill sets, ball handling wise. And that's where I think I would probably focus more of my energy to try and get this guy on a whole nother level, even though, it's debatable whether or not offensively he can find that high level.
But even if it's not higher, 20 plus points, 5 straight games. If you give me 20 points consistently,
yes,
I am happy on the farm.
Yeah. Well, don't do that. You can't get happy on the farm. I've learned that.
Well, if I get 20 plus points consistently from Mikal, sorry, Monty, I'm getting happy on the farm.
I'm not fully bought in that Mikal is this guy scoring consistently when you get a Devin Booker back.
That's
when you
fair.
get other guys that can score. But if he can continue to pass like this and he gets 15, 16, but he's getting 5, 6, 7 assists, I'm perfectly fine with that, because that means his offensive impact is still big, is still large for this team. And it doesn't have to come just scoring wise. If he can set up other guys for easy buckets, that's just as important. I don't have to see him get 24 a night. I have to see him continue to contribute with the ball handling and the assists.
And there's a couple really fun comments in the chat as far as Mikal Bridges goes. And I love seeing all of these, so I'm going to highlight a couple of them. Will Captain said Mikal's been working on his ball handles. Manhua said facts to that. Jan Paul reminded us, obviously when we were going through the thick of it and Mikal was having a hard time out there, it was not fun for us. We were all losing our minds. But Jan Paul puts it into perspective. Now that we're on the other side, seemingly, Mikal needed to have the opportunity to grow, and that isn't always pretty. And it wasn't pretty for a hot minute there. But now that we're on this side, if the growing part led to even a little bit of this type of play from Mikal, then I'll take it.
But that's why I said back then, they're doing him a disservice if he was actually injured. Because when you look at this, it's so night and day from 2 weeks ago what Mikal was doing. He's moving fluidly now. He looks like the guy that we came to expect. I think he had some nagging injuries that he's just getting healthy from now, and that's why it looked so bad. Yeah, there's a learning curve that he was going through too, but there had to be some injury. By the way, we have over 500 people watching, or at least we did a few minutes ago. Hit the damn like button, people.
Hey, be nice
47
about it,
likes. No,
nice.
I'm demanding the likes.
Be
right
nice.
now.
So
Come on.
Emma
Demanding it.
found the sexy sax music, but we're only going to be able to play it if we get more likes.
Yeah, we need
Because
100 for that.
Emma's like,
We need 100 for the sexy sax.
she's like a guard of the fun things.
Also, Brian Catano in the chat said, the Suns are 3-0 since Emageddon happened.
That's
is
facts.
true.
This is
That
true.
is
Emma
facts.
lost her shit and the Suns won. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Emma.
Also, we can stop with the DA slander in the chat. He is better than Kwame Brown. He's better than Jahidi White. Stop with the nonsense.
I don't know. Paul Shirley was pretty
Oh
entertaining.
my God, you guys. Listen, DA, again, he shows flashes of greatness every now and then. And in the playoffs, he has been very consistent in the playoffs. He did help us get past the Pelicans and played solid against the Mavs. Like he had a very solid playoff the year before. And it surprised a lot of people. But again, we're looking for that next step. I'm not talking about DA in the playoffs, and I'm not talking about anything more than, can I see the next step from DA to really be that number 2 that this team really, really needs? But we haven't seen it so far, and he's had plenty of opportunities to do that. That's what I'm saying. That's why he's an accessory right now and not a necessity.
All right, my
That's all I'm
last little nugget on Mikal. Man, wish I could figure out how to pronounce your name correctly. Manua? What do you think? Manhua? Manua?
Yeah.
Manoir.
Manoir? Okay. I'm really sorry.
Manoir.
But I appreciate the comment nonetheless. Said Mikal almost dropped Zaire Williams. He got some handles now. That was a fun little moment in tonight's game.
Was that the guy that the Suns had drafted that they traded to Philly?
No, Zaire Smith.
Oh, Smith. That's right.
I just wanted
Smith,
to
they're both bland last names.
To give a little highlight to that, because that one I feel like everyone was like, okay, Mikal, that was a good one. I see you, Mikal. And then, of course, we've got his twin, Cam Johnson, who we got to watch again tonight. Now, not as big of a night as he had on, what was it, Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Thursday when he came back from injury. But still, he was in the starting unit. He did play 29 minutes tonight. He finished with 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist. But good to have Cam Johnson back in there. I'm guessing because he started tonight, didn't seem to have a minutes restriction, that all is well in that world.
He had that huge 3-point play late in the fourth.
He did.
Where a nice move, got the mid-range jumper, got fouled. That was a play that kind of stopped the momentum for the Grizzlies. Was a huge play. So even though he didn't have a great night offensively, that was big.
Anything on Cam?
A big sex, not on Cam. I can't. I mean, listen, he's gonna be working back to it. I did not expect him to repeat his performance from the night before. He's gonna have to work through it. So I mean, I don't really have too much to say about him. It's a process with him right now.
I will say, at least when he got hit in the what seemed like the chin type of area, he sold it, and I'll give him that. But at first, for a hot second, we were all like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
It was like, oh, great, he's
Cam
gonna be out for a
Johnson. But
month.
then when we all got to see the replays and they were in slow-mo, Cam just sold it a little bit more. And rightfully so. I would have done it. He should have done it. I'm not knocking him for doing it, but it did scare us a little bit.
I was afraid he was going to turn acting and then tear his leg up again.
He looked like Dylan Brooks gave him an uppercut the way he fell. He tapped him on the chin.
Yeah.
Did you have something in the chat, Saul, that you were
I did
curious about?
A little earlier. Oh, whoa. So Big Sexy says DA or Bridges will never be number 2 or 3 with CP around. I kind of disagree with that, just because I just don't think you're going to see. Here, I'll say this. If CP still thinks that he's the CP of old, then I agree with you, because there's nobody that can control anything else. But if CP realizes like he's not that guy, he's not going to be able to get you 25 every single night in the playoffs, and he tries to defer, then I would say that, you know, one of those two guys has a very good chance of being the number 2. But we haven't seen it so far at a high enough level. Mikal's starting to put it together. That's great, but there's still a long way to go. There's 30 something games left of the season. Let's let this play out.
Okay. We got another super chat from Vertigo. Thank you so much for your super chat. They said Dylan Brooks is soft as wet flowers, as be made as they get.
As be made as they get. I love it.
I mean, I feel like Dylan Brooks is like the younger generation of basketball players right now, Pat Bev. Like, he's going to be the Pat Bev of this group of guys.
I'm glad Dylan Brooks is there, because that makes them more hated than us, and that's all that matters right now. Go ahead, Grizzlies. You can be that hated team that everybody dislikes, and we'll just pass that mantle to you. It's fine. By the way, the chat talking about Horacio Llamas is hilarious, because there's a Horacio Llamas autographed magazine right behind Lindsay in that bookcase right over her shoulder. So, a little fun fact about our set. So.
Did you guys see the kerfuffle? Speaking of sassy players, did you see the kerfuffle between Pat Bev and Dame Lillard?
We did.
Yes.
I loved that.
Yeah.
That was probably, outside of the Suns winning, one of my favorite highlights that came out of tonight's games in the NBA. And Damian Lillard just That's the thing about Pat Bev is he kind of looks like the frantic guy who like gets all worked up about things, and everyone else is all like calm, cool, and collected. They're like the cool guy, and he's like the villain who gets all worked up in all the movies and then inevitably loses to the good guy.
Yes.
But that was a fantastic.
Saul liked it so much he said he wished Dame was his son.
He did. This is facts. He really
I
did.
said, I wish Dame was.
You
son.
said Dame would be such a great
Good
son to
son.
have.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And they all
Lindsay-
thought I was talking about like my kid. I was like, no, like the Phoenix Suns, the game we're watching right now.
Yeah, but the way you said it was like, man, he'd be the best son ever.
Well, I mean, right now he would be the best son ever because I promise you I wouldn't be here right now.
Give Daddy some money.
I'd be like Jaws' dad out there. I swear I would.
You totally would be just like T. Morant, 100%. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, you know what? You may not be able to flex on the sidelines like T. Morant, but I will say at Octane Raceway and Maverick, Saul flexed on quite a bit of us here at PHNX. They have indoor and outdoor kind of go-kart racing things. And Saul, I believe you came in top 3, right?
I did.
All 3 times that we raced. If you guys are looking for a fun outing, definitely recommend our friends over at Octane Raceway and Maverick. And right now, they've got promo packages for the big game. That's right. You can watch the big game at Mavericks with dozens of 4K TVs, 20-foot Drumbotron, a 5,000 square foot restaurant featuring chef-curated menu, craft beers, and custom cocktails. There are so many different food plans that you can kind of pick for the big game as well, depending on what size of a party you are bringing out or what you're looking for. But they've got food, game cards, laser tag, bowling, the go-karts, depending on which location you hit up. It's a lot of fun, and you can enjoy the Super Bowl experience at Maverick. Just book in advance at maverick.com/thebiggame. And if you can't make this a reality, you can also have some fun in Fantasyland on the Underdog Fantasy app. They do daily fantasy sports differently. You can get a group of friends together, no matter if it's just you and one other friend, if it's you by yourself, or 5 friends, and you guys can draft the highest scoring squad, and whoever has the highest scoring squad that night could win cold, hard cash. There's no position limits either, which makes it really fun. You just kind of get to pick your top 5 or 6 favorite players that you want to root for that night. And the payout could be really great. And it's really easy to get started. Just go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app. But make sure you sign up with the promo code PHNX, because when you use that promo code, Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100.
All right. You guys are 14 likes away from some saxy fun. But you haven't got there yet.
Hit that like button, folks. What are we waiting for? Let's go. Big win tonight.
If you're on your
We
mobile,
deserve some sexy sacks.
if you're on your mobile phone watching this, what you have to do,
If you're on your mobile.
if you're on your
If you're on your
cellular
mobile.
device, you just have to click hide chat for a second, and that's where the like button is. Then you can go back to the chat. Just FYI, because I know I had issues when I was watching on my phone. It's like, where's the like button? You just got to hide the chat. All right, I have a question for you guys. And this one, Espo, you kind of posed throughout the game. You were just kind of asking, like, what clicked in the last few games for this team? Like, what was that aha moment, that light bulb moment for these guys? And I don't know that there is a definitive answer for it, but what do you guys think?
I honestly think that just effort, like the rotations are a little bit more crisp. And no, I don't think that's just because DA's out of the lineup. I just think the rotations are very crisp. They seem to be playing with a lot more confidence all of a sudden. And I don't know where that started. I honestly do not know where that started. It just started happening. And I think Mikal being a lot more assertive helped because it took the load off of everybody else. You had guys step up, which you need guys to step up right now in the worst way. So Saban Lee's, Jock, different guys have been stepping up, and it's not the same guys every single night. Damian Lee looked like he was the only one we can count on consistently off the bench. And now he's kind of hit a little bit of a wall, but everybody else has stepped up. So I just think it's just overall, the group has played with more assertiveness, and they've been more focused on what they are doing and playing hard. And yeah, I think that's the reason why this is turning around a little bit.
This might sound a little bit crazy, but I think it's a combination of Saban Lee and Mikal Bridges. You had
Okay.
two guys who could handle the ball, that could distribute the ball, that helps calm down an offense, right? Especially early on. And this team had gotten off to such slow starts. Mikal gets a little bit more, definitive in that ball handling role. Saban comes in and kind of dispels him. I think that had a lot to do with it because you were playing without a point guard for a while, and without a point guard, a true point guard, it's really tough to run any offense, and especially Monty's 0.5 offense.
Mhm.
But once you got those guys in, you did see those crisper passes, those crisper offensive rotations. The last 3 games, it's felt like they were getting easy baskets again. All of a sudden, they were able to run, they were able to move, they were playing with more energy again. I think a lot of that has to do with the ball handling. Some of it probably has to do with Cam coming back. That gives you a little bit of an emotional boost for sure in that first game. But I think that really it was the point guard play.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to make a lot of sense because even though he's not like a high level point guard, like he's not at the level of a Chris Paul by any means, still knowing that somebody who has experience handling the ball in that way could just make you feel a little more comfortable.
Well, yeah, I mean, and less turnover prone. When you protect the ball, you give less easy opportunities to your opponent. That helps. I mean, and that's just I don't know that it's as simple as that, but I think that's one of the factors that played.
I think there's a lot of little
defensively,
factors.
I just think defensively they've stepped up their game, and that's what they had to do.
Yeah.
And because of that, they've been able to put themselves in better positions to score easily. I think it all rests on the defense. And that's where I think Saban Lee has his impact. I don't necessarily think the offense is just flowing better with Saban Lee at charge. I think defensively with him, guys like a Kogi coming back, you have length, you have disruptors there that lead to fast break and turnovers, or fast break points off of turnovers, and that's what's making it a little bit easier for the Suns right now. So you want that to continue.
One thing that Monty did say when he was asked kind of about this over the last few games earlier before pregame, just kind of the growth that he's seen from the bench unit of sorts, or the guys who are starting but technically a part of the second unit. He said, I would say just the ability to adapt to whatever situation has been thrown at them has helped us.
Mhm.
And I think adapting can take time, right? Like they've been tossed into the fire so differently in so many different ways this entire season, and big ways, whether it's losing a handful of guys or 2 of your starters or whatever it may be. Everyone has to shift within their roles. And I think it takes a while to adapt to not knowing what's coming next.
Agreed.
And so once you become a little more comfortable with the unknown, it makes you feel more comfortable when you're out there and you're not second guessing yourself as much.
1,000,000%.
Well, it makes you wonder though, will we see another adjustment period when everybody comes back and guys have to get used to again those bench roles, what those rotations look like, maybe not playing minutes on a given night and then coming in another night. Hopefully that's less of an adjustment because you're getting guys like Book back, but we haven't seen this full starting lineup
In a hot minute.
since the beginning of November. So this is going to be interesting when they all get back. What do the rotations look like for that second unit? What guys fall out of it, even though they probably don't deserve to? There's going to be somebody that doesn't get minutes that proved that they could play over the last month.
Oh, and right now with Monty, you have no idea who those guys are going to be.
Yeah.
It could be Josh Okogie one night. It could be Jock the next. It could be Busy. It could be it feels like everybody in the starting lineup right now, except for Mikal and CP, and everybody on the bench at one point or another has not played in the game and has been like the king of the game. At one point or another, it's just been so wildly all over the place. But again, when you're winning, hey, Monty's experimenting and it's great and it's fantastic. We like to see guys be productive. When they're losing, what the fuck are you doing out here? Where's the consistency? it's all over the place from day to day, just like it is with us. Like it is what that is. Like there is no other way to explain it.
Have you seen the chat tonight? The Girthlings
Oh my
have
gosh,
thrown out
yes.
every random big that has played for this team.
Yes.
But has anybody said Danny Shays yet? If you haven't, you guys haven't won. I'm just
True.
saying.
I'm confused as to what's happening.
I'm
chat
surprised
right
Joe
now.
Klein hasn't been thrown out, to be honest.
Klein's a tough one to spell.
I'm a little ashamed of everybody.
Coach throws out Miles Plumbing. He just got married.
Well, there you go.
Congratulations, Miles.
I'm sure he's
Gilbert
watching.
said Big Sauce. I'm a fan of Big Sauce. I
Yeah.
would love for Alan Williams to come on home.
Are these all guys that they're trying to say are better than DeAndre Ayton? Is that what the joke
yes,
is?
They are.
Is that what's happening right
Yes,
now?
think so.
yes.
Tom Gugliotta.
You want to hear Tom Gugliotta's story?
Sure.
So Tom was walking around. This is when he was playing for Minnesota. So I forgot where I heard this, but he was walking around New York, got to Rucker Park, and dudes were playing pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom was like, "I'll play." And so he gets up there, and they did not want to pick him up. And so finally they pick him up,
Why?
and because brothers just weren't going to get the guy on the court. I don't know what to say. Like
Okay,
that's just how it
okay.
was. And so they were short. They had nines. They're like, all right, fuck it. And Tom proceeds to pull up from half court like 6 times in a row. Net. And they were like, who the hell? They were like, what the fuck? And he only played for like 15 minutes. And then he was like, guys, I got to go. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, well, we're playing the Knicks tonight. And he takes off.
Oh,
This is
That's
so cool.
awesome.
my God. Could you imagine being one of those guys?
Oh my God.
And
that would be
and
the dream.
the revision story that you changed when you retold that
Oh my
story
gosh.
that you probably did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah.
Some
That's
of these names are
fantastic.
killing me. Sonny Weems. Good dude. Shavlik Randolph.
Jesus.
Somebody said Michael Beasley. Have I told you guys my Michael Beasley story?
No.
Well, there's two
I don't
of them.
think so.
So he came to the Suns the summer after KD went to the finals with OKC,
Mhm.
right? He and KD were like best buds growing up in the DC area. So I interview him, and he's like, KD's my
Mhm.
inspiration. I can't wait to get the opportunity to go to the finals. It really has inspired me to try to get my game back. So he gives me great quotes. I write this whole feature, and Basketball Ops is like, you can't publish that.
Why?
They're like, because it's Michael Beasley. He's never gonna do that. This might be embarrassing. And I was like, wow, you guys signed him. I just quoted him.
Wow.
And the other one was they had to hold the team bus. I think it was in Brooklyn. He forgot. He goes, hey, has anybody seen my investments? And everybody's like, what are you
Your
talking about?
investments?
He says this on the bus to the guys. Everybody's looking at him like, what in the actual hell are you talking about, right? So he's like, my investments. That brown bag, the leather bag I carry, my investments. Everybody's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So he has to run back in the locker room. It was a bag of like $30,000 worth of watches.
Oh my God.
Watches, and he had to hold the whole bus up
Oh
for
my
like
God.
25 minutes to go find the thing.
How did he
Wow.
just leave them? Oh my goodness.
How is that your investment plan when you're freaking Michael B? If I'm
Why
Michael
wouldn't they
Beasley,
be in a
I'd-
safe in his home?
why wouldn't you be investing your money in something smarter? Because
Okay.
you're Michael Beasley. That second and third
low-key, though.
contract ain't
Oh,
coming.
man, but-
Low key though, investing in like brand name watches and purses is not awful. If it's your only investment, you're in trouble. But
Why
I'm
are you-
genuinely telling you that like a Rolex watch has substantially gained value since it's started.
I don't think that Michael Beasley was sitting there thinking that I'm
You
going
never know.
to diversify my
Well,
portfolio
I-
and buy some
I'm
Rolex.
not lying. I literally know really wealthy people who invest in these type of things.
If you've seen,
I'm just saying.
he was on that Ryan Clark podcast. I forgot what it was called, but the Channing Crowder, I think, was another one who's on there. And he talked about basically how everybody in his life screwed him over, like family and everything. So
Oh, yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? If he wanted to invest in something physical that he could hold on to, touch, and know it's not going anywhere, that actually does make a lot of sense to me.
yeah.
Yeah, but why carry them around in a bag?
Because you don't want anybody, you don't trust anybody else.
Get a safe deposit box.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like, I'm
I
not
mean,
traveling with that, you know. But
I'm just saying, listen, I'm not the only one. Priscilla gets it, says watches are a lucrative business.
Yep.
And then,
John Paul.
yeah, watches can make you
bank.
bank. They really can. Watches, purses, all that type of stuff. Like, it's weird and it's a random little, like, type of investment, but they're legit. I'm dead serious.
that was the same road trip that Sebastian Telfair and Jermaine O'Neal almost killed each other on the team bus.
Oh
So,
boy, you're gonna have to tell us that one day.
yeah, it was,
But before we tell that story, Gerald is going to be joining us here shortly, and we did reach 100 likes. So the question I have for you guys is, do we mix it up tonight? Do we play the sexy sax to welcome Gerald in? Do we end the show with it? Do we just plop it in here for 30 seconds real quick? Like, what are you thinking?
give the people what they want.
Let's go. We just got to ride to the
Okay.
I mean, they just said Taylor Griffin and DJ Strawberry. These people deserve some sexy sax.
Let's go. Let's go. I mean, this is what it's all about, folks. You know what? I'm going to make a command decision. We're going to bring the sax back every single time.
All right.
We gotta bring this bad boy back. I mean, this is what we started on.
It is.
Let's go.
Uh-oh, we're getting
Okay.
Emma rant. Emma rant.
It's a very small rant.
Wait, you gotta let the sax
Let
right
it
out
ride.
first, and then you can do your rant. But you can't ruin the sax. That's the most important part.
I thought we were.
We're about to get to the good part.
Yeah,
Let it
listen,
play.
when the sax hits, you know. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Get that funky sax.
Man. Hey, there ain't nothing like a good sax.
This is where she tells us it's not a sax. I bet that's where
Right,
she's going.
probably.
I took a music class once, and
Okay.
this is a sax.
What's like, so this one time I
now
learned
what is
this
the
thing.
problem, Emma? What is the problem?
There's no problem. I would just like to say,
Emma wanted to keep the sax off the top from the beginning.
I fought for this saxophone for not only the beginning, but to keep it into this season, because once we changed the music, I was like, if we're getting rid of the sexy sax, we have to have something with saxophone or the chat's gonna fucking lose their shit. And they
Mhm.
lost their shit.
Well, it's all right. We didn't win much, so they
Yeah.
didn't miss that many
They
opportunities.
didn't miss it
for
that much, so.
We're bringing it back for the the winning streak.
Yeah.
And
Code, we can't play Juvenile, buddy, because there's copyright laws, and we'll get our show banned. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah, we definitely don't want
Yeah,
that.
and no, Colts 23. Get your mind out of the gutter. It's not porn music.
I mean, that coming from you, Saul, is saying
What
something.
the fuck does that mean?
Get your mind out of the gutter? What do you mean?
Oh,
Get
I
your
was
mind
like,
out of
dude,
the
I'm not-
gutter. That's
I
always
don't
you.
listen to porn music there, Lindsay.
No,
I'm sorry
the
to
mind out of the
disappoint
gutter.
you.
that Saul's entire Apple Music playlist, porn music.
I mean, in my head, my whole life is porn music, so I don't know.
So 4 minutes ago, Gerald said he would be on in 5.
Hey,
And I did just hear a
Wait,
little
chill.
ding, ding,
I
ding.
was
You
excited.
guys don't, I'm kind of
So-
disappointed in the way that we're setting these things up. You know what I mean?
I was just
I feel
excited
like,
somebody said
I
Lindsay
feel like you
Hunter.
need to lower your expectations.
Well, you
we
know,
still play the
I know,
intro.
but you kind of stumbled over it yesterday.
I don't
you know,
stumble
you
over
just-
anything.
you
That's
kinda-
just
you're
how I
like,
talk.
You start,
She's a 2-time Emmy Award winner. She
Guys-
doesn't stumble over shit.
guys. You know what time it is.
No. Gerald's frozen.
Oh,
hail
damn it,
Gerald.
That's Gerald's fault.
Gerald in that
Huh?
bootleg Wi-Fi all the time. in
I'm
that
about
stupid footprint center.
ready to call this.
They
If he's
should-
not
and now he's
back in
gone.
They
2
should
minutes,
carbon recycle that damn Wi-Fi in that arena is what they should do.
I'm not gonna lie, Gerald's taking a long time
For
today.
real,
he better
man.
have
Live for
Usually
over an
Gerald is
hour
here
and 10
25 minutes
minutes.
ago.
he
Alright.
better have some of the best information we've had from the locker room ever tonight.
I doubt he does,
he
but
better
we're gonna
s-
find out.
He better come in and go, they told us Devin Booker is back for the Mavericks game.
I don't. Think
That's what he better
happening.
come in and say.
I don't think
Otherwise,
that's happening.
he's
And I don't know
wasted
if
our
we're really
time.
gonna get him tonight, folks.
It doesn't look like it.
You know what? Do the intro.
What intro?
Do the intro.
a
Oh,
Griff
Gerald's
intro.
Do the intro. Yeah,
Yeah,
do
do
the
it.
intro. Do it. Okay, cool.
In the darkness, beyond the light,
I'll be
there
Gerald.
shall
I'll be
only
Gerald.
one.
Exactly.
Welcome.
Oh
You
yeah.
go for it.
Right? Yeah, you get
Hi,
to
guys.
hear you when
It's-
you talk with
it's
the
me,
Gerald. you
Gerald.
still hear it.
Wait. You're the imposter. Where's the real Gerald?
Hi, guys. I'm Gerald, coming to you live
Oh
from
my
the arena.
Gerald, why are you flexing right now?
Oh, because I hit the gym
What?
real hard. Oh no!
Oh,
He's
sorry,
here.
what?
Gerald is here. Look at that.
Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
Gerald.
Can you hear us, Gerald? Uh-oh.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You better have Michael Jordan coming back to help the Suns out because of how long you just took. Come on, man. Making us wait this long.
I have Mikal Bridges' self-care routine for tomorrow. If anyone's
Let's
interested.
hear it.
yeah.
Let's hear it.
Let's go. I'm all about some
Little-
self-care.
Little Manny Petty.
Yeah. So that actually does include a pedicure for his feet.
Oh.
He said he wanted to get his feet right. He's also got an IV lined up. He's going to play some Madden. He's going to get a massage, and he's going to walk his dog Sunny. So
Dude, that
sounds like
sounds
a
like-
pretty great day.
That sounds like a phenomenal
Mikal
day.
Bridges is on to something
Man,
for tomorrow,
I might have
which,
to do that.
by the way, is an off day for our show as well. So, Gerald, maybe we need to go get some petties.
We can
Yeah,
call him
I think
masseuse
so.
and we'll play some Madden in
Stay
there.
here in the
No.
office.
Yeah.
What else did you hear from Monty and the guys tonight, Gerald?
Yeah, I think Monty was a little more hesitant than the rest of everybody else to say that this team is turning a page, but he was saying, over the last few weeks, he likes what he's seen in terms of this team's fight, in terms of the way that they've been playing together, the way guys have been adapting to different roles. Obviously, the big one is Mikal Bridges being more of a playmaker. Chris Paul was saying he loves seeing Mikal make those kind of reads and play a little bit more on the ball, and plays like when apparently Cam Johnson grabbed a rebound and waved off Chris Paul. Chris was saying, I've been waiting years for them to be making plays like that, and I love it. So the big thing is just this team. I know that it's been rough over the last 2 months for the most part, but a lot of those trials by fire are starting to pay dividends a little bit, especially as guys come back and ease their way into the rotation. There's still plenty more that need to get healthy and reintegrate themselves into the lineup. And Monty talked before the game about how that's kind of a challenge when you get guys coming back at different times, and some of them are on a minutes restriction like Cam. Some of them, like Chris Paul, go and play 38 minutes in their first game back. But we are starting to see this team kind of get healthy and look a lot more like the Suns that we recognize.
Talk to me like I'm in the third grade and chat before you say anything. Yeah, I know. Why does Cam come back and he's on a minutes restriction, but CP3 comes back and fuck it, it doesn't matter. Let him run the whole game if we want to.
Yeah, I think with Chris, it was a matter of, I'm not saying that they were like, coddling him or taking it a little too slow with him bringing him back, but I think they wanted to make sure he was like not just 100%, but like 115% before they brought him back. And he had only missed, 7 games between the last time he played. And I think he had, before the game where he got hurt, he had like a 20-point performance. So he was able to come in and kind of reintegrate himself a little bit more smoothly. He had been starting to turn his season around before he got hurt. With Cam, obviously, 2.5 months, 37 games, and a serious knee injury that required surgery. It was probably more about managing that. That's why he missed, the first game of this back-to-back. And I don't know what kind of restriction he was on tonight. He was supposedly on one, but I think he still played 28 minutes. So I don't know what the restriction was there. They routinely kind of go over their minutes limit with him. But yeah, that's probably the difference there.
Can we officially say that Mikal Bridges is a legitimate ball handling option for this team? Has he finally evolved into that for this group?
I think for this particular makeup of the team, you can definitely say that. He's looked a lot more comfortable. You look at his last 6 or 7 games, the numbers that he's been able to put up now, 5 straight games with 20-plus points, the longest streak of his career. He's been dishing the ball really well, making a lot of reads, even passes that don't end up in assists. He's showing a lot of growth as a playmaker. What I need to see, and the only reason I have any hesitation, is I need to see him still do that when Book and Chris Paul come back. And that's kind of been a point of emphasis for Monty and everybody else on the team, telling him, when we get these guys back, we don't want you to defer. We want you to keep doing what you're doing here. We want Cam to keep initiating actions in the pick and roll like he's been doing. Like, we need these guys to be able to make plays because they usually stick their best defender on Book, their second best on Chris. Mikal is the one that has to capitalize on teams that maybe don't have a third elite defender to try and stick on him. And we saw it in the first half, especially tonight. He was ridiculous in the mid-range with some of those shots he was hitting off the dribble. He kind of cooled in the second half. Monty played him the entire second half, so I think he got a little bit tired there. But it is something they're going to need to capitalize on. I need to see it with the full team back, see him still be aggressive and not kind of take a back seat like we've seen him do sometimes.
But do you think CP3 and Book also need to defer a little bit in terms of at least the ball handling when it comes to Mikal when they come back? It doesn't feel like it should all be on Mikal to just stay aggressive, but their willingness as well to recognize he's evolved.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Chris, we've talked about him. He's elite at what he does, but sometimes he can be very ball dominant in that way. And Book is the rare talent that can score on the ball or off the ball. So we always know he's going to get his, but it's on Chris to kind of cede some of those responsibilities, which is a learning process for him as well. We saw how uncomfortable and awkward it was for him at the start of the season to do that. But tonight it looked a little more natural. Chris was just kind of playing without thinking. He was getting up shots and letting Mikal run a little bit more of the offense. In the second half, it kind of got to a little more bogged down offense. So they need to continue to work and grow that environment and try and find that balance there.
Gerald, I did have a question for you because I know that you had tweeted out earlier today a slight update about Devin Booker. What exactly did you hear from Monty on that front?
Yeah, so he was saying that they don't have like a set update for us at this time and that there's no exact date on when we're going to get news as far as his reevaluation, which the 4-week period they initially gave us is on Wednesday of this week. He was saying, there's still a lot of boxes for him to check. That's the phrase they always love to use. But to this point, he's mostly just been doing non-contact stuff. So what they need to see from him is being able to play, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, really test it out, because he was talking about, to get your conditioning back, you need to be able to play these 2.5, 3-minute spurts like you do in a game in between whistles. He said that's usually kind of the average between whistles in an NBA game. So until they're able to see that, there's nothing new on Book, unfortunately, which is not great news because we were hoping this 4-week reevaluation period he'd be closer and we'd have some type of news, but it looks like Wednesday's going to come without any type of update on that front.
So Devin Booker's playing Tuesday is what you're saying?
Forget Wednesday. We're going for Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Chris Paul, he's just not responding the way we hoped. Chris Paul in the lineup tonight. Like, what the fuck?
Cam Johnson hasn't done anything but non-contact stuff. Oh, he's back. Like,
liars.
Yeah.
I don't believe them anymore.
I don't trust
liars.
I don't trust the establishment.
Did Monty?
Why are they always so shady with us right now?
so secretive.
Turds.
Did Monty talk at all about any concern with the second half of this game and blowing a 29-point lead? I mean, they held on for dear life. They managed to do it, but I imagine there's some concern with it.
I think there's a little bit. I think there's kind of this implicit understanding, like, yeah, we don't have our full complement of guys. A lot of these guys are in positions that they're not normally in. Like, normally Devin Booker would be out there. He'd hit a shot or two to kind of quiet the run a little bit, and they'd probably cruise to a double-digit lead. And in this game, Mikal was missing a lot of shots in the second half. Chris Paul had 15 in the first quarter and then 2 the rest of the game. So it was one of those things where they didn't have their normal guy out there who's good at quieting those types of runs and keeping a double-digit cushion like that. He was saying, like, we knew, kind of like Kyrie Irving the other night, we knew that Ja and this team were going to get going. They weren't just going to roll over and lose by 30. They do need to execute some things better for sure. Like in the second half, their defense, I think they gave up like 71 points or something crazy. But he was saying, the goal is to win, and we were able to do enough down the stretch and had a great first half to put ourselves in that position.
A win is a win. No, especially in this type of part of the season, nobody's going to remember what the win was like.
Gerald, who's your favorite obscure son ever?
My favorite obscure son ever. I don't know if he counts as obscure, but like I really did like Lou Amundsen back in the day.
Yep, that fits right in with everybody in the chat, what their names are.
Oh, really?
Out.
Basically, as
Okay.
Musab said, the chat has named everyone who's worn a Suns uniform in the past 50 years at this point. So that's what's happening right now, and it's fantastic.
I also got to give a shout out to my fellow Gerald, the four-fingered assassin Gerald Green, because that season that he had when the Suns were like good but didn't make the playoffs was really fun to watch.
Remember the four-fingered
Yeah.
foam hand?
Yes,
This
those were
guy.
so cool.
You made
This
that?
guy. Oh yeah, the team sold it at the
Oh
team
my
shop.
God.
That was my idea. That was fun.
Did he
Said
like
four-
it?
Oh yeah, Gerald loved it. It said
Oh.
four-fingered assassin on one side, and it was like that.
Oh my god.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Do you still have one?
I don't. I wish I
How
did.
do you not have one?
It got lost in one of my many moves of boxes.
Wow.
So
How disappointing.
That's very sad. That's very sad. Also, congratulations to you, Gerald. Tonight you did win Twitter, just so you know. I really liked
did
the leave the door open tweet, followed by your shade thrown at both Lindsay and myself, which I loved.
I'm glad you
Win.
approved.
Win.
Oh no.
Win.
Oh no.
Win. Curve everything else. Win.
Hey, win. Let's go, baby. 4 in a row coming up on Tuesday.
Anything else, Gerald, you got to share with the group?
No, the last thing that I had was Dario Saric. Obviously, he came in, had some big minutes off the bench down the stretch, closed when 2 of their centers fouled out on a night where they were already missing DA. Chris Paul, Monty, Mikal, they all had really complimentary things to say about the work that he puts in behind the scenes. You know, Chris Paul going into the practice facility just to get something he left behind, and seeing Dario in there already getting a sweat going. This is kind of what it takes when you're in his position. And over the last few weeks, he's looked a lot more comfortable handling the ball. He had that really fun coast-to-coast layup, and he's been letting it fly, not afraid to shoot. He said he's feeling a lot more like he's 100% and back to his kind of pre-injury Dario form. So that can only mean good things. He's not going to play a huge role once everybody's healthy, but to be able to come in and produce like that off the bench tonight was important.
So are you saying winners work?
I am definitely saying winners work.
Oh, Jesus.
Gerald, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us and sharing all of your inside information with us.
For sure. You guys have a good night.
See you later. All right, gentlemen, I think that'll do it for us here on this one. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us tonight. We appreciate you as always. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on in the show, we will not have a show tomorrow. It is an off day for the PHNX Suns show, but we will be back on Tuesday. We'll have a pregame show and a postgame show for you, so plan to come hang out with us for both of those. Until we see you on Tuesday, you can follow me on Twitter at LindsaySmithAZ. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Ronnie Lee, Marco Milic, Alex Strivens. Ahoy, hoy.
Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsay, Gerald, Espo. Saw pass the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like Dan G, no plan B. Always on the job, my team move like the mob, turn the beat.